The stars looked different now. Daehyun stood on the observation deck of the Corvin military station, watching ships move slowly through space. 5 years ago, those same routes had been filled with warships and the burning remains of destroyed vessels. Now only peaceful cargo ships and patrol boats traveled between the stars. The great galactic conflict was over. 300 years of war had finally ended with the Treaty of Void's End. 4 great civilizations had signed their names on that document, agreeing to stop the fighting that had torn the galaxy apart. The Corvan Empire, the Nexari Collective, the Thalen Federation, and the Vrathan Consortium had all grown tired of sending their people to die in endless battles. Daehyun touched the scar on his left arm, a reminder of the final battle at the Crimson Nebula. He had been young then, believing that honor and victory were the most important things in the universe. Now, at 45, he understood that peace was far more valuable than any military victory. The cost had been too high. Entire star systems had been destroyed, billions of people had died, whole planets had been turned into graveyards. The communication device on his belt made a soft sound. A message from Bo-Ra, the Nexari diplomat stationed on the same space station. She wanted to meet in the neutral conference room to discuss trade routes through the buffer zone. Daehyun sighed and walked away from the window. Even in peacetime, there was always work to do. The conference room was small and simple. The 4 major powers had agreed that no one could claim ownership of this station. It floated in the middle of the neutral zone, a vast area of space where no military ships were allowed. Representatives from all 4 civilizations worked here together, trying to make sure the peace would last. Bo-Ra was already waiting when Daehyun arrived. The Nexari woman looked tired, her blue skin slightly pale under the artificial lights. She had been working on trade agreements for 3 years now, trying to rebuild the economic connections that war had destroyed. The Vrathan are complaining again, Bo-Ra said without greeting. They want to change the shipping taxes for the outer rim routes. Sujin never stops pushing for better deals, Daehyun replied, sitting down across from her. What does she want this time? Lower fees for their cargo ships, but higher fees for everyone else. She says the Vrathan Consortium lost more trade vessels during the war, so they deserve special treatment. Daehyun almost laughed. The Vrathans had indeed lost many ships, but that was because they had tried to keep trading even during the worst battles. They cared more about profit than safety. And what does Taemin think about this? The Thalen representative is staying quiet. He says his people need time to consider all the mental impressions from the proposal. Bo-Ra shook her head. Sometimes I think the Thalens use their psychic abilities as an excuse to avoid making quick decisions. This was how things worked now. Every small decision required agreement from all 4 powers. Every trade route, every shipping schedule, every tax rate had to be discussed and approved. It was slow and frustrating, but it was better than war. Much better than war. The door opened and Taemin entered, followed by Sujin. The Thalen man moved quietly, his large, dark eyes scanning the room as if he could see things that others could not. Sujin walked with the confidence of someone who had spent her life making profitable deals. Her red hair was perfectly arranged, and her expensive clothes showed that the Vrathan economy was recovering well from the war. I hope we can settle this quickly, Sujin said, taking her seat. My people have 17 cargo ships waiting for permission to use the new routes. Your people always have ships waiting, Taemin said softly. Perhaps if the Vrathans were more patient, these meetings would be more pleasant. Patience does not pay for fuel or feed workers, Sujin replied. The galaxy must move forward, not backward. Daehyun watched the familiar tension between the 4 representatives. Even after 5 years of peace, old habits were hard to break. The Corvans and Nexari had been enemies for so long that they still expected betrayal from each other. The Thalens trusted no one except themselves. The Vrathans only cared about profit, which made them unreliable allies. The meeting continued. For 2 hours, they discussed shipping routes, security patrols, and maintenance costs for the space stations in the neutral zone. Every decision required careful negotiation. Every agreement was temporary and could be changed if one of the four powers became unhappy. When the meeting finally ended, Daehyun walked back to his quarters. The station felt empty and quiet. Only a few hundred people lived here, compared to the millions who had once served on the great warships. Peace was good, but it was also lonely. His personal computer was flashing with a new message when he entered his room. It was from Admiral Park, his old commander who now worked for the Coven Intelligence Division. The message was marked as urgent and classified. Strange signals detected in Sector 7G, the message read. Unknown origin. Pattern suggests intelligent source but does not match any known civilization. Long-range sensors show unidentified vessels. At the edge of explored space, recommend investigation. Daehyun sat down slowly. Sector 7G was far from any of the major trade routes. In a part of the galaxy that had been largely ignored during the war, if there were ships out there, they belonged to someone new. Someone who had stayed hidden during 3 centuries of galactic conflict. He forwarded the message to Bio-Ra, Taemin, and Sujin. Within minutes, his communication device was buzzing with responses. Bio-Ra wanted to send a scientific expedition. Taemin suggested careful observation before any contact. Sujin was already calculating the trade possibilities the next morning. The 4 representatives met again in the conference room. This time, the atmosphere was different. For the first time in years, they were facing something that none of them understood. My people have confirmed the signals, Bao-Ra said, her blue skin now bright with excitement. The technology is unfamiliar, but it shows clear signs of intelligence. Someone is out there. The Thalen Collective has sensed nothing, Taemin reported. Either these beings are very far away, or they have minds that we cannot read. Unknown. Civilizations mean unknown opportunities, Sujin added. But also unknown dangers. We must approach this carefully. Daehyun studied the data on his tablet. The signals were weak but consistent. They came from ships that seemed to be moving slowly through space, exploring the outer edges of the galaxy. Whoever they were, they had technology advanced enough for space travel, but different from anything the 4 powers had ever seen. We need to decide how to handle this together, Daehyun said. If we each try to make contact separately, it could create new conflicts. Agreed, Bao-Ra said. The Nexari Collective suggests a joint expedition. The Thalens will participate, Taemin said quietly. This could be important for all of us. The Vrathans are interested, Sujin confirmed. But we want equal access to any trade opportunities. For the first time since the peace treaty, the 4 powers were working toward the same goal. They began planning a careful approach to the unknown ships. They would send a small group of vessels with representatives from each civilization. They would try to communicate peacefully and learn about these mysterious newcomers. None of them realized that everything they thought they knew about war and peace was about to change. None of them suspected that the quiet, careful galaxy they had created was about to meet a species that would challenge every assumption they had about how civilizations should behave. In the darkness of space, human ships continued their slow exploration of the galaxy's edge, completely unaware that they had been detected. The joint expedition reached Sector 7G after 12 days of travel. 4 ships moved together through the darkness of space, each one representing a different civilization. The Corvan vessel looked like a metal fortress, built for war but now carrying peaceful explorers. The Nexari ship was sleek and white, filled with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The Thalen vessel moved silently, its dark hull almost invisible against the stars. The Vrathan ship was large and practical, designed to carry cargo and make profit wherever it went. Daehyun stood on the bridge of the Corvan ship, watching the sensor displays. The unknown signals were getting stronger. Soon they would make contact with whoever was out here in the empty space between star systems. 3 vessels detected, reported the sensor officer. Distance, 2 million kilometers and closing. They appear to be scanning us as well. What can you tell about their ships? Daehyun asked. Unusual design? Not like anything in our databases? They use different metals, different energy sources. The ships look simple, but they are moving faster than they should be able to move. Buora's voice came through the communication system from the Nexari ship. We are reading the same data. These vessels do not match any known technology patterns. They seem to use very basic materials, but their engines are surprisingly efficient. The Thalen mind readers detect nothing, Taemin reported from his ship. Either there are no living beings on those vessels, or their minds work very differently from ours. Sujin was more direct. I want to know what they are carrying and whether they want to trade. The unknown ships changed course, moving directly toward the four-ship expedition. Soon they would be close enough for visual contact. Everyone waited, nervously. First contact with a new species was always dangerous. During the war, any unknown ship had been treated as an enemy. Old habits were hard to break. Incoming transmission, the communication officer announced. They are trying to contact us. On screen, Daehyun ordered. The main display flickered, then showed the interior of one of the unknown ships. A figure appeared on the screen, and everyone gasped in surprise. The being looked almost exactly like a Thalen, but with smaller eyes and different skin color. It was humanoid, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head in the right place. Greetings, the figure said in perfectly clear Galactic Standard language. I am Hyun Woo, representing the Human Exploration Fleet. We are pleased to make contact with your civilizations. Daehyun blinked in confusion. How did this being already know their language? The 4 powers had needed years to develop translation systems during first contact with each other. I am Daehyun of the Corvin Empire, he replied. Carefully, we welcome peaceful contact. How do you know our language? Hyun Woo smiled. We have been listening to your communications for some time. Your broadcasts travel far through space. We learned your languages and studied your cultures before deciding to make contact. The Ora joined the conversation from her ship. I am Beora of the Nexari Collective. We are curious about your technology. Your ships appear simple, but they perform better than our sensors predicted. We prefer practical designs, Hyun Woo answered. Our ships are built to be repaired easily and to work in many different situations. We found that complicated technology often breaks at the worst possible times. Taemin spoke next, his voice puzzled. I am Taemin of the Thalen Federation. Our psychic abilities cannot sense your thoughts. Are you using some kind of mental shielding? No shielding, Hyun Woo said with another smile. Human minds are just different. We think in ways that might seem chaotic to other species. Some of our people have strong mental discipline, others let their thoughts wander freely. We are all different from each other. Sujin was the last to introduce herself. I am Sujin of the Rathan Consortium. Are your people interested in trade relationships? What resources do you have available? We are always interested in fair trade, Hyun Woo replied. But we prefer to establish trust before discussing business. We have learned that rushing into economic agreements often causes problems later. After the initial contact, the 4 ships arranged to meet with the human vessels at a neutral location. Each civilization sent small teams aboard the human ships to learn more about these mysterious newcomers. Daehyun found himself on a human vessel with a woman named Jae-yoon, who explained their technology. The ship's interior was surprisingly simple. Instead of the advanced computer systems that Corvin ships used, the humans had many small devices that could be quickly replaced or modified. We built our ships to be flexible, Jae-yoon explained as they walked through the engine room. If one system fails, we can switch to a backup. If we need more power, we can connect several smaller generators together. If we find new materials, we can upgrade parts of the ship without rebuilding everything. But this must be very inefficient, Daehyun said. Corvin ships are designed for maximum performance. Maximum performance in specific situations, Jae-yoon agreed. But what happens when the situation changes? We prefer ships that can adapt to unexpected problems. Meanwhile, Beora was talking with a human engineer named Minho on another vessel. She was amazed by how quickly he could modify their equipment. "You have been studying Nexari technology from our broadcasts?" Ba-Ra asked. "Yes, very impressive," Minho said, working on a device that looked like a combination of human and Nexari components. "We took some of your ideas and changed them to work with our systems. Want to see?" He activated the device and Beor watched in shock as it performed. "Better than the original Nexari design. How did you improve it so quickly?" "We are good at combining different approaches," Minho explained. "Your people make very advanced technology, but you follow strict rules about how it should work. We prefer to experiment and see what happens." On the third human ship, Taemin was having a frustrating conversation with a woman named Young Mi. Every time he tried to read her thoughts, he found only confusion and chaos. "Your mind is very busy," Taemin said carefully. Young Mi laughed. "That's normal for humans. We think about many things at the same time. Right now, I am thinking about this conversation, wondering what my family is doing back home, trying to remember if I turned off a machine in the engine room, and planning what to eat for dinner. How do you make decisions with so many thoughts?" "We learn to focus when we need to," Young Mi said. "But most of the time, having many thoughts helps us see problems from different angles. Sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected connections between ideas." Sujin was having the strangest conversation of all with a human named Heian Wu on the command ship. She had expected to discuss trade agreements and resource exchanges, but the human kept asking about Vrathan culture and history. "Business is important," Heian Wu said, "but we want to understand who we are dealing with. How do your people make decisions? What do you value besides profit? What makes Vrathans happy?" "These questions are not relevant to trade," Sujin said, confused. "We think they are very relevant," Heian Wu replied. "Good business relationships require trust and understanding. If we know what your people need and want, we can find ways to help each other that go beyond simple buying and selling." After several hours of meetings, the four representatives returned to their own ships to discuss what they had learned. They held a joint conference call to share their observations. "The humans are unlike any species we have encountered," Ba-Ra reported. "Their technology is primitive but somehow more effective than it should be. They can modify and improve designs faster than our best engineers. Their minds are chaotic and unreadable," Taemin added. "They think in ways that make no sense too. Our psychic abilities, this could be an advantage or a danger." "They seem honest but naive about business," Sujin said. "They want to build relationships before making deals. This could slow down trade negotiations significantly." Daehyun listened to the reports and felt a growing unease. "They are not what they appear to be. Their ships look simple, but they outperform our predictions. They claim to be peaceful explorers, but they have been watching us for years without revealing themselves. They adapt to new situations faster than should be possible." "What are you suggesting?" Ba-Ra asked. "I am suggesting that we do not fully understand what we are dealing with," Daehyun replied. "These humans have capabilities that our intelligence networks never detected. They have been hidden from us during centuries of war, yet they know our languages and our cultures. They may represent opportunities for cooperation, but they also represent unknowns that could disrupt the balance we have worked so hard to achieve." The four representatives agreed to proceed carefully with the humans. They would establish formal diplomatic contact and begin cultural exchanges. But they would also watch and learn, trying to understand exactly what kind of species had emerged from the unknown regions of space. None of them realized that they were already being studied far more carefully than they were studying the humans. None of them suspected that their own assumptions about civilization and technology were about to be challenged in ways they could not imagine. 3 months had passed since first contact with the humans. The four civilizations had established regular communication with the newcomers, but each government wanted to know more. Much more, secret intelligence operations began across the galaxy as each power tried to understand what the humans really were and what they wanted. Sungjin had been a Coven intelligence operative for 15 years. He had spied on Nexari research stations, infiltrated Thalen meditation centers, and even spent 2 years undercover in Vrathan trading companies. But this assignment was different. He was ordered to study humans, and humans were proving to be impossible to understand. He sat in his small observation ship, hidden in the asteroid field near the human colony on Kepler Station. For 6 weeks he had watched human behavior and recorded everything. What he saw made no sense according to Corvan military thinking. The humans had no clear chain of command. They held meetings where everyone could speak, even the lowest ranking workers. Decisions were made by discussion and voting, not by orders from superior officers. When problems arose, different humans would take charge depending on their skills, not their rank. Day 43 of observation, Seung-jin recorded in his daily report. The humans are repairing their main power generator. The person in charge is a young woman named Sora, who normally works in food preparation. She is directing engineers and technicians who are older and more experienced than her. They follow her orders without question because she understands the specific problem better than anyone else. This would never happen in the Corvan military. Rank and hierarchy were everything. Orders flowed down from the top, and questioning a superior officer was a serious offense. But the humans seemed to change their leadership structure depending on the situation. Seung-jin had also noticed something else disturbing. The humans were studying him. Several times he had seen human ships in positions where they could observe his hidden location. They never approached or challenged him, but they were definitely aware of his presence. How could they detect a ship using the most advanced Corvan stealth technology? On the other side of the galaxy, Eunji was having similar problems understanding human technology. As the Nexari Collective's top researcher, she had been given access to every piece of human equipment that the diplomatic exchanges had provided. The results confused her more each day. The humans use what they call modular design, she explained to her research team. Instead of building one perfect machine for each task, they build many smaller parts that can be combined in different ways. She held up a human communication device that had been modified with parts from a navigation computer and a food preparation unit. This should not work. The components are from completely different systems. But somehow the humans made them work together better than our specialized equipment. The research team looked skeptical. Nexari technology was built on the principle of perfect specialization. Each device was designed to perform one function as efficiently as possible. The idea of mixing different systems seemed primitive and wasteful. Perhaps they do not understand proper engineering principles, suggested one researcher. Eun shook her head. I thought so too, but look at this. She activated a human-modified scanner that could detect energy sources, analyze chemical compositions, and even function as a communication relay. Our best multi-purpose scanner can do 3 different tasks. This device can do 12 different tasks, and it can be easily repaired with common materials. The more she studied human technology, the more Yunji realized that the humans had a completely different approach to problem solving. Nexari engineers spent years perfecting single solutions. Human engineers spent their time finding ways to adapt and combine solutions quickly. Meanwhile, Wonbin was struggling with an even more difficult problem. As one of the most powerful Thalen psychics, he could read the thoughts and emotions of almost any living being. Corvans thought in straight lines about duty and honor. Nexari minds were organized and logical. Vrathan thoughts focused on profit and efficiency. But human minds were chaos. He sat in his meditation chamber, trying to process the mental impressions he had gathered from visiting human settlements. Human thoughts jumped from topic to topic without warning. They could think about serious problems and silly jokes at the same time. They could feel multiple emotions simultaneously, even emotions that seemed to contradict each other. The humans call it multitasking, Wonbin reported to the Thalen Council. Their minds can work on several different problems at once. When they focus on one specific task, they can think with great clarity, but most of the time they allow their thoughts to wander freely. This sounds like mental illness, replied Council Leader Ran He. How can they make good decisions with such disorganized thinking? That is what troubles me, One Bin said. Their chaotic thinking should make them ineffective, but it does not. They solve problems faster than we do. They adapt to new situations better than any species we have encountered. Their mental chaos is somehow an advantage. One Bin had also discovered something that worried him even more. Some humans seem to have natural resistance to psychic influence. Not mental shielding, which the Thalans could understand and overcome, but something different. Their chaotic thought patterns made it difficult to predict or control their behavior. Hyjin was having the most success of all the intelligence operatives, but her discoveries were equally disturbing. As a Vrathan economic analyst, she had been studying human trade patterns and resource management. What she found challenged everything the Vrathans believed about commerce and economics. The humans do not follow standard economic models, she reported to the Vrathan Board of Directors. They share resources freely within their communities. They make decisions based on need rather than profit. They help each other without expecting immediate payment. That is not sustainable, replied Board Chairman Jung Ho. No civilization can survive without proper economic incentives. That is what I thought, Hyjin said, but their system works. Their colonies are prosperous and growing. They have no poverty or resource shortages. Everyone contributes according to their abilities and receives according to their needs. Hyjin had spent weeks trying to find the flaws in the human economic system. There had to be corruption, inefficiency, or exploitation somewhere. But the more she studied, the more she realized that humans had found ways to make cooperation more profitable than competition. They shared technological innovations freely instead of hoarding them for competitive advantage. They pooled resources to solve problems that affected entire communities. They made long-term plans that benefited everyone instead of short-term plans that benefited only the wealthy. They are not naive about business, Hyjin continued. They understand profit and competition, but they have learned to balance individual success with community welfare. This makes their entire society stronger and more stable than ours. As the months passed, the intelligence reports from all 4 civilizations began to paint a disturbing picture. The humans were not what they appeared to be. They looked primitive and simple, but they consistently outperformed more advanced civilizations. In almost every area, their technology was flexible and adaptable. Their social structures could change quickly to meet new challenges. Their military thinking emphasized innovation over tradition. Their economic systems created prosperity without exploitation. Their minds worked in ways that made them unpredictable and difficult to influence. Most worrying of all, the humans seemed to be studying the 4 civilizations just as carefully as they were being studied. Human visitors asked innocent questions about history, culture, technology, and military doctrine. They observed everything and remembered everything. They were learning about alien strengths and weaknesses faster than the aliens were. Learning about human capabilities, Daehyun received copies of all the intelligence reports and studied them carefully. As a military strategist, he could see patterns that others might miss. The humans were not just friendly explorers looking for trade opportunities. They were conducting a comprehensive intelligence gathering operation of their own. They are preparing for something, he told his staff during a classified briefing. I do not know what, but they are learning everything they can about us while revealing as little as possible about themselves. Perhaps they are just careful and cautious, suggested his aide. Careful people do not spread colonies across contested space regions, Daehyun replied. Careful people do not modify alien technology and make it work better than the original designs. Careful people do not resist psychic scanning while claiming they have no mental defenses. Similar conversations were happening in the capitals of all 4 civilizations. The Nexari Council debated whether human adaptability represented a threat to technological stability. The Thalan Federation worried about beings whose minds could not be read or influenced. The Vestan consortium calculated the economic disruption that human cooperation models might cause, but none of the four powers wanted to be the first to take hostile action. The Treaty of Void's end was still fragile, and each civilization feared that moving against the humans might trigger renewed conflicts with their traditional enemies. So they continued. The first real test came at the mining station on asteroid belt XJ7. The Corvan Empire claimed the belt belonged to them because their survey ships had mapped it first. The Nexari Collective said they had the right to mine there because their technology could extract resources more efficiently. The Vestan consortium wanted to establish a trading post to control commerce in the region. The Thalen Federation insisted that all parties should share the resources equally. While the four powers argued through diplomatic channels, humans had quietly established a small research station on one of the asteroids. They said they were studying mineral formations and requested permission to continue their work. All four civilizations gave approval, thinking that a small scientific outpost posed no threat to their competing claims. Duhayan commanded the human research station. He was a quiet man who had served in many difficult situations before joining the exploration program. His official reports described boring geological surveys and mineral analysis. His real job was much more interesting. The Corvans are sending 3 heavy cruisers to the belt, reported So Young, the station's pilot and reconnaissance specialist. They will arrive in 4 days. Intelligence suggests they plan to establish a military outpost to support their territorial claims. The Nexari are not far behind, added Jun Ho, who worked as both a medic and communications analyst. 2 research vessels and 1 armed escort. They are bringing mining equipment that could strip mine an entire asteroid in 1 week. The Vrathans have 6 cargo ships loaded with construction materials, said Nayun, the station's official communications officer. They want to build a permanent trading station before anyone can stop them. The Thalans are sending mediators, but their ship carries enough firepower to defend itself if negotiations fail. Duhayan studied the tactical display showing ship movements throughout the asteroid belt. In 3 days, representatives from all 4 civilizations would be in the same small region of space, each trying to claim the same resources. The peace treaty said that disputed territories should be resolved through negotiation, but the belt was too valuable for anyone to simply walk away. What are our orders? So Young asked. We continue our research, Duhayan said with a slight smile, but we should be prepared to defend our station if necessary. The first ships to arrive were the Corvan cruisers. They took positions around the largest asteroids and began scanning for the best locations to build military bases. Admiral Songmin, the Corvan fleet commander, was surprised to find humans already in the belt. Human Research Station, this is Admiral Songmin of the Corvan Imperial Navy, he broadcast. You are operating in territory claimed by the Corvan Empire. Please state your intentions and activities. Duhayan responded personally. Admiral Songmin, this is Commander Duhayan. Of the Human Research Station Harmony Base, we are conducting mineral surveys under permits approved by all 4 galactic powers. We welcome your presence and hope our research can be helpful to your operations. Send us your survey data, Songmin ordered. The Corvan Empire requires full knowledge of all activities in our territory. Of course, Admiral. We will transmit all publicly available research data immediately. Some information is classified under interspecies research agreements, but we can discuss access through proper diplomatic channels, Songmin frowned. The human was being polite and cooperative, but he was also setting boundaries. The Admiral decided to test these boundaries. Human Station, the Corvan Empire is establishing a security perimeter around this asteroid belt. All non-Corvan vessels must request permission before moving between asteroids. We understand your security concerns, Admiral, Duhayan replied. However, our research requires access to multiple asteroid locations. We hope you can accommodate scientific activities that benefit all galactic civilizations. Before Songmin could respond, the Nexari ships arrived. The Nexari fleet commander, Captain Lena, immediately opened communications with both the Corvans and the humans. This asteroid belt contains rare minerals essential for advanced technology development, Captain Lena announced. The Nexari Collective claims priority mining rights based on our superior extraction capabilities and environmental protection protocols. The Corvan Empire was here first, Admiral Songmin replied sharply. Your mining claims are not recognized. Duhain watched the argument develop exactly as he had expected. Within hours, the Vrathan cargo ships arrived and began unloading construction equipment on a different asteroid. The Thalen meditation ship appeared soon after, positioning itself between all the competing forces. This is exactly what happened during the war, Junho observed. Each power claims what they want and refuses to compromise. Soon they will all be pointing weapons at each other. Not exactly the same, Duhayan said. This time they have an audience. The situation escalated quickly. The Corvans established weapon platforms on 3 asteroids. The Nexari deployed defensive shields and began mining operations. The Vrathans continued building their trading post despite protests from all other parties. The Thalans tried to organize a peace conference that nobody wanted to attend. Duhayan received a message from each fleet commander ordering him to support their position and oppose the others. Each message implied that cooperation would bring benefits while resistance would bring consequences. Time to test our preparations, Duhayan told his team. So Young had spent weeks installing small devices throughout the asteroid belt. They looked like scientific sensors, but they could do much more than measure mineral content. Nayan had established communication links with human ships positioned far from the belt, ships that none of the alien powers had detected. Junho had been analyzing the weaknesses in each alien fleet's formation and tactics. The test began when a Corvan patrol ship approached the human research station demanding a complete inspection. Duhayan allowed the inspection but activated a simple defensive protocol. As the Corvan security team searched the station, they found exactly what they expected to find. Geological equipment, mineral samples, and scientific data. They did not find the real communications array hidden inside the waste recycling system. They did not notice that the main computer had been modified to process tactical data while appearing to run mineral analysis programs. They completely missed the small manufacturing unit that had been producing specialized equipment for 3 months. Your station appears to be legitimate, the Corvan security chief reported. But you are operating in a potential combat zone. For your safety, we recommend that you evacuate within 24 hours. We appreciate your concern for our safety, Duhayan replied. However, our research is at a critical stage. We prefer to remain and continue our work. We trust that all parties will respect the neutrality of scientific operations. The Corvan officer looked frustrated but said nothing more. As his team prepared to leave, So Young was already implementing the next phase of their plan. The Nexari mining operation had been proceeding smoothly until their main extraction platform suddenly lost power. Their engineers discovered that someone had modified the asteroid's mineral composition using techniques they did not recognize. The rare metals they wanted to mine had somehow been moved deeper underground and mixed with other materials that made extraction impossible using standard methods. How did this happen? Captain Lena demanded. Unknown, her chief engineer reported. The mineral distribution has been altered, but we cannot determine how. It would require technology we do not possess. Similar problems began affecting all 4 operations. Corvan weapon platforms experienced mysterious power fluctuations. Vrathan construction equipment broke down due to unexpected mineral dust that damaged their machinery. Thalen meditation chambers were disrupted by strange electromagnetic interference. Each civilization suspected the others of sabotage, but none of them could prove anything. The technical problems were subtle and appeared to be natural phenomena. Only the human research station continued to operate normally. Admiral Songmin decided to end the situation with direct action. He ordered his ships to establish a blockade around the asteroid belt, preventing any non-Corvan vessels from entering or leaving the area. All vessels will submit to Corvan authority or be treated as hostile. He announced. The Nexari fleet moved to defensive positions. The Vrathan cargo ships armed their limited weapons. The Thalen vessel powered up its shields. For the first time since the peace treaty, 4 military forces faced each other with weapons ready. Duhayan watched the tactical situation develop and made a decision that would change everything. So Young, begin Ghost Protocol, he ordered. Junho, activate support network. Nayun, open channels to all fleets. Within minutes, the 4 alien commanders received identical messages. This is Commander Duhayan of the Human Research Station. We are declaring this asteroid belt a neutral scientific zone under the protection of human exploration forces. Any hostile action against civilian research operations will be met with appropriate defensive measures. Admiral Songmin laughed. What defensive measures? You have 1 small research station against 4 military fleets. His laughter stopped when his sensors detected 15 human ships decloaking throughout the asteroid belt. Ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared in perfect positions to attack. The emergency meeting took place on Nexus Prime, the neutral station where the Treaty of Void's End had been signed 5 years earlier. For the first time since the peace agreement, military leaders from all 4 civilizations sat in the same room without their usual diplomatic representatives. The asteroid belt incident had changed everything. Admiral Songmin of the Corvan Empire sat across from Captain Lina of the Nexari Collective. 5 years ago, they had been trying to kill each other. Now they were discussing a common threat. The irony was not lost on either of them. 15 ships, Songmin said, reviewing the tactical reports. 15 human ships appeared from nowhere, in perfect attack positions. Our sensors detected nothing until they chose to reveal themselves. Our analysis suggests they were using some form of adaptive camouflage, Captain Lina added. Not energy shields or traditional cloaking technology, but something that makes their ships appear to be asteroids or space debris. Very clever. General Taewon of the Thalen Federation studied the psychic impression reports with deep concern. Our mind readers detected no hostile intentions from the Human Research Station. Either the humans are naturally immune to psychic scanning, or they have mental discipline beyond anything we have encountered. The economic implications are equally troubling, said Trade Minister Su Jin, representing the Vrathan Consortium. The humans disrupted 4 separate military operations. Using minimal resources, they turned our competitive advantages into weaknesses. This suggests strategic thinking that could reshape galactic power structures. The 4 leaders had gathered in secret without informing their governments of the meeting. Each civilization was still officially maintaining friendly relations with humanity, but privately they were all asking the same question: what did the humans really want? We need to share intelligence, Admiral Songmin said. I am authorized to discuss classified Corvan observations about human capabilities. This was unprecedented. The 4 powers had spent centuries protecting their military secrets from each other. Now they were preparing to share information that had never been revealed to outsiders. Captain Lina activated a secure holographic display. Nexari analysis indicates that human technology follows completely different development patterns. They do not pursue maximum efficiency or perfect specialization. Instead, they focus on adaptability and rapid modification. This makes them unpredictable, General Taewon agreed. Our strategic planning assumes that civilizations will develop along logical technological paths. The humans appear to change their capabilities faster than our intelligence services can track. Trade Minister Su Jin presented economic data that worried everyone. Human colonies are becoming economically independent at an impossible rate. They are establishing trade relationships with minor species that we have ignored for decades. They are creating economic networks that bypass our traditional commercial controls. The discussion continued for 6 hours. Each civilization shared discoveries that painted a disturbing picture of human capabilities. The humans were not just another minor species looking for their place in the galaxy. They were a new type of civilization that threatened the established order. They are studying us, Admiral Songmin concluded. Every diplomatic contact, every trade negotiation, every friendly conversation is an intelligence-gathering operation. They know more about our weaknesses than we know about their strengths. Agreed, Captain Lena said. The question is, what do we do about it? The answer was unthinkable, but all four leaders were thinking it. For the first time in galactic history, the major powers would need to work together against a common threat. Meanwhile, on the human colony ship New Seoul, Kyung-soo was conducting his own emergency meeting. As the senior human diplomat in the region, he had been monitoring alien communications and troop movements. The signs were clear. The four powers were coordinating against humanity. Our intelligence networks report unusual activity, said Era, the human security chief. Four civilizations have increased military spending and are conducting joint training exercises. They are calling them peacekeeping operations, but the tactical patterns suggest preparation for offensive action. Changmin, the human fleet commander, studied tactical projections on the main display. They have superior numbers and firepower. If they coordinate their attack properly, they could overwhelm our defensive positions. Not if we see them coming, said Dajin, the chief science officer. We have advantages they do not know about. Our sensor networks are more extensive than they realize, and our ships can operate in ways that their tactical computers cannot predict. Kyung-soo had been expecting this development for months. Human intelligence services had been monitoring alien government communications since first contact. The signs of growing cooperation between traditional enemies had been obvious to anyone who knew what to look for. They are afraid of us, Kyung-soo said simply. They have spent centuries fighting each other according to established rules. We do not follow their rules, so they cannot predict our behavior. Fear makes them dangerous. What are our options? Changmin asked. We continue diplomatic efforts while preparing for military action, Kyung-soo replied. But we need to be smarter than they are. They expect us to fight like a traditional civilization. We will not give them what they expect. The first sign of the new alliance came 3 weeks later. Corvin and Nexari ships began conducting joint patrols along human colony borders. Thalen meditation vessels appeared near human trade routes, monitoring psychic activity. Vrathan economic sanctions began limiting human access to certain star systems. Each action was small and could be explained as routine security measures. But together they represented a coordinated campaign to contain human expansion and gather intelligence about human capabilities. The humans responded in ways that confused their opponents. Instead of protesting the restrictions or demanding explanations, human representatives expressed understanding and offered to cooperate with alien security concerns. We recognize that our rapid expansion may cause concerns, Kyung-soo told a joint alien diplomatic committee. We are willing to discuss reasonable limitations on our activities and provide transparency about our intentions. Admiral Songmin was suspicious. The humans are being too cooperative. No civilization gives up territorial claims and trade rights without resistance. Perhaps they are more reasonable than we expected, suggested Captain Lena. Or perhaps they are preparing something, General Taewon said quietly. The Phelan was right. While human diplomats expressed cooperation and understanding human intelligence, services were mapping every aspect of the alien alliance. They identified communication networks, supply lines, command structures, and operational plans. They discovered which alien leaders supported aggressive action and which preferred diplomatic solutions. Most importantly, they found the weaknesses that would destroy the alliance. The four civilizations had historical grievances that went back centuries. The Corvans still blamed the Nexari for the destruction of their homeworld's moon. The Nexari remembered Corvan war crimes during the siege of their research stations. The Thalans distrusted everyone because of their psychic abilities. The Vrathans cared more about profit than any political alliance. Their cooperation is fragile, Era reported to the Human Leadership Council. They are working together because they fear us, but they still hate each other. If we can increase their mutual suspicions, the alliance will collapse. How do we do that without appearing hostile? Kyung-soo asked. We give them what they expect, Changmin said with a smile. They expect us to be a threat, so we become a threat. But not in the way they think. The Jin was already working on the technical details. We can demonstrate capabilities that will make them more afraid of each other than they are of us. If they believe that we have shared technology or information with their enemies, they will turn against each other. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The humans would reveal just enough of their capabilities to terrify the alien alliance, but they would do it in ways that made each civilization suspect their allies of secretly cooperating with humanity. Over the next month, strange incidents began occurring throughout alien space. Corvan military communications were mysteriously intercepted and broadcast to Nexari intelligence services. Nexari research data appeared in Thalen government databases. Vrathan trade secrets were leaked to Corvan commercial competitors. Thalen psychic defense protocols were somehow copied and distributed to all three other civilizations. Each incident could be explained as human espionage, but the patterns suggested something more disturbing. The leaked information was exactly the kind of intelligence that each civilization would most want to obtain about their traditional enemies. It seemed as if the humans had somehow gained access to the most sensitive secrets of all four powers. How? Did they learn so much so quickly? Admiral Songmin demanded during another secret meeting. Someone is helping them, Captain Lena said suspiciously. They could not have penetrated our security systems without inside assistance. Are you suggesting that the Corvans are cooperating with the humans? General Taewon asked. I am suggesting that someone is sharing classified information, Captain Lena replied. The humans know thing. The attack began at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time across 17 different star systems. It was the largest coordinated military operation since the Treaty of Void's end, involving over 2,000 ships from all four alien civilizations. The plan was simple: destroy every human settlement, capture every human ship, and eliminate the threat that humanity posed to galactic stability. Admiral Songmin commanded the operation from his flagship, the Corvan battlecruiser Eternal Honor. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of attack fleets throughout human space. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Phase 1 complete, reported his tactical officer. All human outer colonies are under attack. Enemy. Resistance is lighter than expected. Songmin nodded with satisfaction. The humans had spread themselves too thin across too many star systems. They could not defend everything at once. The alien alliance would crush the human settlements one by one, then move against their main colonies. Phase 2 commencing, came the report from Captain Lena, commanding the Nexari Technology Suppression Force. Human communication networks are being jammed. Their ships cannot coordinate defensive actions. At the same time, General Taewon was leading Thalen psychic warfare specialists in attacks on human command centers. Phase 3 active. We are disrupting human leadership decision-making processes. Their commanders appear confused and unable to respond effectively. Trade Minister Sujin controlled the economic blockade that prevented human ships from receiving supplies or reinforcements. Phase 4 operational. All trade routes to human space are closed. They cannot resupply their defensive forces. The four-pronged attack used each civilization's greatest strengths. Kovan military might provided overwhelming firepower. Nexari technology suppressed human communications and sensors. Thalen psychic abilities disrupted human command structures. Vrathan economic control cut off human supply lines. For the first 6 hours, everything went perfectly. Human colonies fell one after another. Human ships retreated or were destroyed. Human communication networks went silent. The alien commanders began to believe that they had overestimated the human threat. Dongwu sat in the command center of the human deep space station Harmony, watching the destruction of human settlements across the galaxy. As the supreme commander of human defensive forces, he had expected this attack for months. What surprised him was how perfectly it was going according to human plans. Report, he ordered quietly. Mi Young, the admiral commanding human naval forces. spoke from her flagship hidden in the dark space between star systems. All outer colonies have been evacuated as planned. The aliens are attacking empty settlements and abandoned facilities. Our people are safe. Ground forces have withdrawn to prepared positions, reported General Junsik from his mobile command post. The aliens control territory, but they have found no human military assets to destroy. Hey, 1, the chief science officer, monitored the technical aspects of the operation from her research vessel. Phase 1 of our counterattack is ready. All alien fleets are now in the positions we wanted them to occupy. Dongwu studied the tactical display that showed the real situation, not what the aliens believed they were seeing. The retreating human ships were actually moving into attack positions. The destroyed human facilities were broadcasting false signals to make the aliens think they had achieved their objectives. The disrupted human command network was operating perfectly through hidden channels that the aliens could not detect. The aliens are fighting the war they expected to fight, Dongwu said to his staff. We are fighting a different war entirely. The human counterattack began 12 hours after the alien assault started. It began quietly, with small incidents that seemed unrelated to the main battle. A Corvan supply convoy simply disappeared between star systems. A Nexari communication relay stopped working for unknown reasons. A Thalen meditation ship lost contact with its fleet. A Vrathan command vessel experienced total computer failure. Admiral Song Min was reviewing battle reports when his tactical officer reported the first problems. Sir, we have lost contact with Supply Group 7. Their last transmission indicated normal operations. Probably communication equipment failure, Song Min replied. Continue the attack schedule. But the problems multiplied rapidly. Within 4 hours, the alien alliance had lost contact with 47 ships, 15 supply convoys, and 6 command stations. Each incident could be explained as equipment failure, navigation error, or communication problems. But together, they represented a pattern that made no sense. How can so many things go wrong at the same time? Captain Lena asked during an emergency conference with the other commanders. It must be human sabotage, General Taewon suggested. But our psychic scanners detect no human presence near any of the incidents. Perhaps their technology is more advanced than we realized, Trade Minister Su Jin said nervously. The truth was more disturbing than any of them imagined. The humans had not been fighting a defensive war at all. While the aliens attacked empty colonies and abandoned facilities, human forces had been striking at the heart of the alien war machine. Human ships had infiltrated alien supply lines using technology that made them appear to be friendly vessels. Human agents had sabotaged alien equipment using techniques that left no evidence of tampering. Human intelligence services had turned alien communication networks against themselves, sending false orders and misleading information. Most importantly, the humans had done something that violated every principle of galactic warfare. They had turned the alien alliance against itself. Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Corvan High Command, Song Min's communication officer reported. They want to know why we shared our attack plans with the Nexari. What? Song Min demanded. We shared nothing with the Nexari. The transmission includes copies of classified Corvan tactical documents that were supposedly found and captured. Nexari databases, the officer continued. High Command is demanding an explanation. Similar messages were being received by all 4 alien commanders. Each government was accusing their allies of sharing sensitive military information with the enemy. Each commander was denying the accusations while wondering if their allies really were betraying the alliance. The confusion grew worse when intercepted. Communications began appearing on public information networks throughout alien space. Citizens could suddenly read detailed reports about military operations, casualty lists, and strategic planning documents. The information was real and accurate, but its source was impossible to determine. How did classified battle reports reach civilian news services? Captain Lena asked her intelligence staff. Unknown, Captain. The documents appear to have been transmitted from our own communication systems, but our security protocols show no signs of breach. The psychological warfare escalated when each alien government began receiving intelligence reports claiming that their allies were secretly negotiating with humanity. The reports included recorded conversations, financial transaction records, and meeting schedules that suggested extensive cooperation between human representatives and alien officials. None of the evidence was completely false, but all of it was misleading. The humans had carefully constructed a narrative that made each alien civilization believe their allies were betraying them. Admiral Song Min was studying one such report when his chief of staff interrupted with urgent news. "Sir, the Nexari fleet is changing course. They are withdrawing from their assigned positions." "Withdrawing?" Song Min stared at the tactical display. Why would they withdraw in the middle of a successful operation? Captain Lina reports that Nexari High Command has ordered them to return to defensive positions. Apparently, they believe Corvan forces are preparing to attack Nexari territory. The alliance was falling apart exactly as the humans had planned. Centuries of mistrust and hatred could not be overcome by a few months of cooperation. When each alien government believed their allies were betraying them, they chose to protect themselves rather than continue the joint operation. General Taewon was the first to openly break from the alliance. "The Thalen Federation is ending its participation in this operation," he announced during an emergency command conference. "We have evidence that our allies are using this military action to gather intelligence about Thalen psychic defense systems." "That is ridiculous," Admiral Songmin protested. "The Corvan Empire has no interest in your psychic abilities." "Then explain how detailed maps of our meditation ship configurations appeared in Vrathan trade databases." General Taewon replied coldly. Trade Minister Su Jin was equally suspicious. "The Vrathan Consortium is also withdrawing. We have discovered that someone has been using our economic networks to fund human resistance operations. Since only our allies have access to those networks, we must assume that one of you is working with the enemy." The accusations and counter-accusations continued for hours while human forces used the confusion to launch their real counterattack. Human ships that had been hiding throughout alien space suddenly revealed themselves in coordinated strikes against alien command centers, supply bases, and communication relays, but the humans did not simply attack with superior firepower. They used each alien civilization's own technology and tactics. 6 months after the failed alliance attack, Sangho stood in what had once been the most heavily defended military station in Corvan space. The massive fortress now served as a neutral meeting place where representatives from all civilizations could gather safely. Human engineers had spent weeks removing weapons and converting battle stations into conference rooms. The transformation was symbolic of everything that had changed in the galaxy. Where once there had been mistrust and preparation for war, now there was cooperation and planning for peace. The change had not come through conquest or domination, but through something much more powerful. Understanding. Sangho walked through the corridors that had once housed Corvan war machines, now filled with diplomats, scientists, and trade representatives from every major civilization. Humans worked alongside Corvans, Nexari, Thalens, and Vrathans on projects that would have been impossible just a year ago. The door to Conference Room Alpha opened as he approached. Inside, Chayoung was concluding another successful negotiation. Session. As the chief human peace negotiator, she had spent the last 4 months mediating disputes that had seemed impossible to resolve. "The mining rights agreement for the Helios system has been finalized," she announced to the mixed group of alien representatives. "The Corvans will provide security, the Nexari will supply technology, the Thalens will oversee environmental protection, and the Vrathans will manage distribution. All profits will be shared equally among the 4 civilizations and local colony governments." Daehyun, who now served as a Corvan liaison to the new Galactic Council, nodded with satisfaction. "This arrangement gives each civilization what they do best, while ensuring that no one dominates the others." Leora, representing Nexari interests, was equally pleased. "The shared technology protocols will accelerate research in all 4 civilizations. We estimate a 30% increase in scientific advancement within 5 years. Taman spoke quietly, as was his way. The Phelan Federation is grateful for the mental harmony that these agreements have brought. The psychic tension that plagued the galaxy for centuries is finally beginning to fade. Sujin was reviewing financial projections on her tablet. The economic benefits are remarkable. Trade between civilizations has increased by 400% since the new protocols were established. Everyone is becoming more prosperous. Sang Ho listened to the discussion with pride. These same representatives had been preparing to destroy each other just months ago. Now they were planning joint colonies and shared research projects. The transformation seemed miraculous, but it was the result of careful work and patient diplomacy. The key had been showing each civilization that cooperation was more profitable than competition. Humans had not forced anyone to change their behavior. Instead, they had demonstrated better ways to achieve the goals that each civilization already wanted. The Corvans still valued honor and military strength, but now they understood that protecting others brought more honor than conquering them. Their fleets had become peacekeeping forces that ensured safe travel throughout the galaxy. The Nexari still pursued technological advancement, but now they shared their discoveries instead of hoarding them. The combined research efforts of all civilizations were solving problems that had seemed impossible for any single species to address alone. The Phalans still sought mental harmony and psychic balance, but now they worked to reduce conflict between different species instead of maintaining isolation from other minds. Their meditation techniques were helping diplomats from all civilizations understand each other better. The Vrathans still focused on trade and economic growth, but now they managed galactic commerce in ways that benefited everyone instead of maximizing profits for themselves alone. The new economic systems had eliminated poverty and resource shortages throughout inhabited space. Insu entered the conference room, carrying a stack of reports from human engineering teams working throughout the galaxy. As the chief technical advisor to the Galactic Council, he coordinated reconstruction efforts in areas damaged by centuries of warfare. The Crimson Nebula Restoration Project is ahead of schedule, he announced. The Kovan Memorial Fleet and Nexari cleanup vessels are working together to clear the debris field. Within 2 years, the system will be safe for civilian traffic again. What about the refugee resettlement programs? Chai Young asked. Excellent progress, Insu replied. The Phelan meditation ships are providing psychological counseling, while Vrathan cargo vessels transport families to new colonies. The joint effort has relocated over 2 million war refugees to safe, prosperous communities. Sun He joined the group, fresh from a tour of the new integrated defense network. As the military attached responsible for ensuring that all civilizations honored their treaty obligations, she coordinated security throughout the galaxy. The early warning system is fully operational, she reported. All 4 civilizations are sharing sensor data and patrol responsibilities. If any hostile force threatens galactic peace, we will detect them long before they can cause serious damage. Any signs of trouble? Sang Ho asked. Nothing significant. A few pirates trying to operate in the outer rim, but the joint patrols are handling them easily. Some minor trade disputes in the frontier regions, but the mediation teams are resolving them before they escalate. Sun He paused to review her tablet. The most interesting development is how quickly the alien civilizations have adopted human tactical innovations. Corvan fleets now use flexible command structures. Nexari ships carry modular equipment that can be quickly reconfigured. Phelan vessels operate with mixed crews from multiple species. Vrathan cargo ships have defensive capabilities that rival military vessels. This was perhaps the most remarkable change of all. The aliens had not simply agreed to follow human leadership. They had learned human methods and adapted them to their own needs and cultures. The result was a galaxy where every civilization was stronger and more capable than before. Sangho walked to the large window that overlooked the station's main docking bay. Ships from all 5 civilizations were arriving and departing in a constant flow of peaceful traffic. Corvan cruisers carried Nexari scientists to research assignments. Thalen meditation vessels transported Vrathan trade delegations to new markets. Human exploration ships worked alongside alien crews on mapping expeditions to unexplored regions of space. The sight reminded him of the old Earth saying about turning swords into plowshares. The galaxy had taken weapons of war and transformed them into tools of peace and prosperity. How did we do it? Thara asked, joining him at the window. 6 months ago, our civilizations were preparing for total war. Now we are planning joint colonies and shared research projects. The change seems impossible. Sangho smiled. We gave everyone what they really wanted. The Corvins wanted respect and honor. The Nexari wanted knowledge and advancement. The Thalans wanted peace and harmony. The Vrathans wanted prosperity and growth. War was preventing all of you from achieving these goals. But we had been fighting for centuries, Daehyun said. We thought war was the only way to protect our interests. War was the easy solution, Cha Young explained. It let each civilization blame their problems on external enemies instead of working to solve them. Peace requires more effort and more trust, but it produces better results. Taemin nodded slowly. Humans showed us that cooperation was possible, but they did not force us to cooperate. They simply made cooperation more attractive than conflict. The economic incentives were crucial, Sujin added. When we realized that peace would make all of us wealthier than war, the choice became obvious. Insu was studying engineering reports from across the galaxy. The technical achievements have been remarkable. Combining knowledge from all 5 civilizations has produced innovations that none of us could have developed alone. We are building things that seemed like science fiction just a year ago. What kinds of things? Sun, he asked. Starships that can travel between galaxies, medical, technology that can extend lifespans by centuries, energy systems that could power entire star systems, communication networks that work instantly across unlimited distances. The possibilities are endless when everyone shares their knowledge instead of hiding it. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Galactic Early Warning Network. All the representatives gathered around the main display as data flowed in from sensor stations throughout inhabited space. Unknown energy signatures detected beyond the galactic rim, the sensor operator reported. Multiple large objects approaching from deep space. Estimated arrival in inhabited regions, 18 months. Sun, he frowned at the tactical data. The objects are massive, much larger than any known spacecraft. They appear to be artificial, but they do not match any technology in our databases. Another species? Daehyun asked. Possibly. Or possibly something else entirely. The energy patterns are unlike anything we have seen before. Sang-ho studied the sensor readings with interest rather than alarm. A year ago, this news would have triggered panic and military mobilization throughout the galaxy. Each civilization would have begun preparing for war against the unknown threat. Now, the response was completely different. We should organize a joint investigation, Cha Young suggested. Send ships from all civilizations to